Going in just one sec. I got to start the live stream to everybody else. There we go. All right. Cool. All right, let's get going, guys. So, welcome to what we're calling the Licensing Playbook Live for those of you that are new. Today's topic is going to be a good one, how to spot a bad idea. Steven, I don't, what are you thinking with this topic, man? I mean, no inventor never has a bad idea. There's no such thing as a bad. I don't know what you're talking about. We'll find out. Steven's presentation tonight, so he's running the show. We'll see what he has up his sleeve there. So join Stephen Key and myself in this discussion. If you don't like it, it's all on Stephen. Just kidding. I co-founded InventRight 26 years ago with Stephen to help inventors. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat box or by digitally raising your hand here on Zoom. If you're watching us live on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, simply type your questions into the chat on those platforms. We always try to get to a few questions over there as well. So most inventors don't fail because of a lack of effort. They fail because they commit too early without validating properly. Before you spend your money on patents, prototypes, or marketing, you need to know, is this idea actually viable? It makes sense, Stephen. Now I'm starting to warm up to this topic a little bit, Stephen. I'm starting to like it. That's important, very important. Tonight we'll break down the early warning signs that an idea won't get traction, the critical questions to answer before investing. That's a good idea. How to test whether people will truly buy. A simple validation checklist you can use immediately. If you want to protect your time, energy, and cash, you guys don't want to do that, do you? No. Then this session is for you. So if you want to protect those things, hang out. Stephen, let's get this party started here. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you everybody for attending tonight. When I first started out coming up with ideas, did I really think about which ones were going to be more successful than other ones? I guess I did. I just wanted people to like it and share it and buy it, I guess. But given that I've done this now for close to, I don't know, I hate to say how many years, 30, I don't know, 45 plus years, probably close to 50.
Oh my
I,
God,
I,
it just went up there.
I hate that tells you how old I am. The problem is only recently did I realize that something became obvious that I didn't see it. I mean, can you imagine doing this for this long and I come to this conclusion now? But if you're going to be working on a lot of ideas, and I love ideas. You guys don't get me wrong, I love all my ideas, but I really want to work on the ones that have potential. Uh, and what I realized, some of your ideas, it's like pushing a rock up a hill. You're going to keep pushing that thing forever. And you're going to blame, well, maybe it's this, or maybe the marketing is not good, or maybe I don't have time, or maybe this. You're going to give all the excuses in the world why your idea is not working so well. But it's probably another reason. It probably has nothing to do with some of the other stuff that you think it is. And that's really a hard pill to swallow. Maybe you just picked a bad idea. And because some ideas roll down the hill. I know the difference now. I can spot them. I can see an idea that's going to be like, you're going to be pushing that rock up a hill for a long time. And then I see ideas that just kind of roll. I go, all right. But it's taken me a long time to figure that out. And I want to share with you some of the stuff I'm learning because I'll tell you, don't wait and figure this out later because you're going to spend a lot of time and money working on ideas that just are not going to produce the type of revenue you're looking for. Right. So that's what this lecture is all about. In fact, you're going to hear me talk a lot about this, right? Because I think it's really important to all of us. Okay. So why don't we get started with the first slide?
Got it. Oh my gosh, skull and crossbones.
Yeah, who did that? I don't know who did this slide. I don't know. Um, yeah, next slide, please. That's terrible. Yeah, the reality is a lot of businesses just fail. And these numbers, I think, are a little conservative, actually. I think it's probably a little higher than this. So, how do we fix this problem? I think we fix it by doing something a little bit differently because, at the end of the day, you're spending a lot of time and money on something that you truly love, but at the end of the day, if no one's going to enjoy it, you might want to find out a little earlier than later. Because when you find out later, it's hard to stop, it's hard to give up, and you're going to feel bad about it. Next slide, please.
So I just wanted to comment on that. The nice thing about licensing when you license a product is you're putting all that risk off onto the company. But it's not like it's no work to do a licensing deal. It's definitely work. So even though you're not taking all the risk, like when you're starting a business, it's still a considerable risk. So you still need to do everything Steven's going to be teaching you tonight. For some reason, I can't see you, Steven. I got to figure out how to fix that. Anyway, we'll move on to the next slide. Go ahead.
I don't know. I see you, Andrew.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. I just
yeah,
lost
I think
track of the
most
screen.
people do it backwards, probably including myself for half my career. We do it backwards. We come up with a great idea. We see a problem. We come up with a solution. We fall in love with it. Right away, we fall in love with it. We build a prototype and we play with the prototype and we put it by our bedstand and we show it to our neighbors and we're just excited about it. And then maybe we go a little bit further. We said, all right, maybe do CAD drawings. Next thing you know, we said, well, we got to protect that idea. Someone's going to steal it. So we're filing provisional patent applications or maybe design patents. And maybe, just maybe, we're like, well, wait a minute. I'm watching Shark Tank. I'll just put it on Amazon and I can run it out of my back bedroom. It's not going to cost a lot of money. And if I'm smart, I'll sell it online so I get the money first and then I can buy the inventory. Yeah, I can do all this stuff. That's typically what people do. And I think people are doing it backwards. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think what we need to start thinking about is really determining proof of demand. Yeah, I do. That's the real problem. Do people really want it? Is it solving a problem people will actually pay for? We have to get our this emotional attachment. We got to put that on the back burner for a minute. We have to stop guessing. And I think that's what we're doing. In fact, you know what we're doing? We're hoping. And I think hope is not a very good strategy. Next slide.
Yeah, and I think that I think I talked about this last week, Stephen. You have to learn to be empathic, empathetic, whatever you want to call it, and you need to get into the head of whoever's going to buy it. So if that's somebody that's a professional painter or a housewife doing dishes or or a guy barbecuing, you need to think like them. Don't think that everybody thinks like you. And I think that's a really, really big mistake that people make. They think that everybody's going to think like them. And that's not how a good marketer thinks. A good marketer will think like, what is my audience going to think about this? And, I think it's really important.
Yeah, I want to flip the process a little bit here. And I think you have to start with the problem that your product is solving. Okay. And really look at the pain of that problem. How big a pain is it? Now, this doesn't apply to some industries like the toy industry. There's no pain with toys. But most products out there are going to make your life a little better, a little easier, a little faster. You'll be more productive. You'll get the job done quicker. All those things. But how big is the pain? for them to purchase it. And I don't know if we're really focusing on that. I don't know if we really can. Is there a way for us to test how big the pain is?
You mean the pain for not purchasing it?
Well, I'll tell you this, if your roof is leaking, you're going to get it fixed, aren't you?
Right, right.
That's a pretty big pain point. Or if your car breaks down, you're going to get that fixed. You got to get to work, right? You're going to fix that. Okay. Or or if it's a summertime and your air condition doesn't work, you're gonna fix that, aren't you? In fact, you're not going to wait. Those are big pain points. And I don't think we talk enough about the pain point of the solution of your product. Maybe you think it's painful, but do other people think it's painful? Maybe yes, maybe no.
Hmm.
So I really want to confirm that people will buy your solution to a particular pain point.
I like the way you just said that, Stephen. You might think it's painful, but do other people feel that's painful as well? I think that was very well put.
Yeah, because if not, they're just not going to buy it.
Right.
And and it's just going to sit on the shelf or you're not going to get traction and you're wondering why is anybody buying it? You're thinking, well, maybe I don't have enough time or I'm not running ads or maybe if I was in a couple of retail stores or you're thinking about all the other reasons, but I don't think you're really looking at the core. Do I have something that people will pull out their wallet and buy because the pain is enough to where you have a solution where they want it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's not pain, it can be other things. It could be saving money. It could be bringing a smile to their face. If it's a little funny little novelty product or
Yeah, but
something, right?
yeah, those, I mean, some industries, this is not going to apply. Maybe novelty, maybe toys, of course.
Sure.
But if I've got a problem, I mean, if you can save me time, I love that. I mean, if you can fix a problem that I'm having every day, I'm struggling with something, yeah, I'm going to love that product. I want that product. And then, so let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
Um, yeah, you know what is really interesting about this? If there's no competition for your solution, I would be very worried. Why I'm saying that is that when there's competition, it proves that there's similar products out there that people are purchasing. That's a green flag. I used to kind of step away from competition, thinking, well, there's too many products out there. Well, yes and no. You need a point of difference, of course, and you need to make an improvement, of course. But I'll tell you, when there's competition, it tells you that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no guesswork now. That's a problem that people are buying it. So I kind of like that a little bit. Without competition, it tells me there might be a problem and maybe the pain point is not big enough for people to purchase. So think about that and really look at what those other competitors are selling, right? Look at the reviews. What are customers complaining about? Um, I think you're going to find out that people like to complain about everything, right? Okay, so and because of that, they're gonna be commenting. Your job is to be a detective, to listen, to ask questions, and maybe store managers or maybe reviews or whatever you have to do, or maybe even on certain meetup groups or Facebook groups. What are people talking about? What are they complaining about? It's really understanding that pain point, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've ever looked at it like that. We kind of just look at
Yeah.
it as a problem
I
we have.
I couldn't agree with you more, Stephen. I think it validates. So let's say you've got a unique kitchen cutting board, and so there's like eight other kitchen cutting boards in this space. It has more or less the same features as yours, and you're like, okay, well, there's all those eight. Oh, but mine has this little extra something. So if all those eight products, that type of kitchen cutting board, let's say, because that's a broad category, if all those eight kitchen cutting boards that are have A, B, and C in them and they were all on the shelf, and yours is right here, and yours has A, B, C, and D. And not everybody, because not everybody wants anything. I was saying lately, not even everybody wants eternal life, right? I mean, not everybody wants. But if you said, well, if everybody was looking at these nine products, the other eight that are very similar to mine, and mine with a little extra something, and if 30%, 20% of people would buy mine, that's a licensable product, in my opinion.
Well, you know, when you make a small improvement on an existing product or a category, there's less risk because it's proven that products in that category are selling. So it also proves that it's a good chance it can be manufactured as well. So, and most patents that get filed are really improvements on existing ideas. So that thought process is pretty common,
Mm.
right? When you come up with something that's so new that no one that you have to educate someone about how it works, you better run for the hills because that's going to take a lot of time and money. And you put your product on the floor on the shelf of a store, and people are going to walk by within seconds, and they're going to understand what you have because they've never seen it and they don't understand it. That's really hard. So what I'm talking about is just kind of common sense to go, all right, if I can come up with small improvements and there's enough business out there, it proves it. And my point of difference has to be pretty strong, of course, right? And that's your job is to take that innovation and take it to another level again. See, that's your job as an inventor going, all right, what can I do differently? How can I make this better? Because everything kind of moves in that direction. It's almost
Mm.
a guaranteed that products that are selling today, there'll be other products that are probably going to be improvements on those existing ideas.
Mm.
Right. So sometimes when someone comes up with something so new and they say, there's nothing like it. I was like, oh, geez. That's like, okay, that could be a red flag.
Well,
And
and you have to define that. There might be other products that are a different very different product in a different space, and it kind of solves 75% of it, or all of it, but done in a completely different way, or at a different price point, or what have you. Cynthia wrote, "The best pain is when somebody says X drives me crazy. This thing drives me crazy."
I
And so,
love,
Cynthia, what I would say to that is, does it drive that one person crazy? Do you see online with comments like on Amazon products and wow, that's driving a lot of people crazy or what have you? So it can't drive just one person crazy, but a lot of them crazy. It
there's a
can't
good
just drive
chance.
you crazy, you
Yeah,
know.
you know what's really interesting about that? I think Cynthia's right. When someone goes to the effort to write something, there's a pretty good chance there's a lot of people feel the same way.
Good point.
Yeah,
That's a good
it,
point.
it's it's pretty common because it does take a lot for someone to make a comment like that, and you have to kind of listen to it and say, all right, what's going on there? So let's go to the next slide. Andrew's going to love this slide here. I can tell already. He didn't even know this was in here. So how do you test before you invest? Well, Andrew and I has been saying this for 26 years. If I was going to venture a product, I would try to license it first
Hmm.
because it's low cost. I haven't built inventory. I can do a 3D computer generated model, a great sell sheet, maybe a Frankenstein video. I can do everything and show it to a company and go, what do you think? I mean, think about how affordable that is. I mean, if I was going to venture anything out there, I would get a read from the industry experts because
Hmm.
they'll tell you why they don't want it. And if they don't want it, there's something in there you did not see. So to me, that's a great way to test before you invest. But there's other things too, Andrew, and you know this. You file a PPA, of course. You get yourself a little bit of protection. That's affordable. And you could do a lot of stuff. You could talk to industry experts. You could talk to retail buyers. Hey, what do you think about this idea? Maybe, I don't know. You could even do a focus group. There's even Survey Monkey or whatever. You could do that too. There's all these things that you could do to get a read to see if, hey, is his pain point enough? Do people, what do they say? I like when someone goes, wow. That's what
Mm.
I like. That tells me I've got something. If someone sees it goes, wow. I like a wow factor myself, you guys. Oh, why did anybody ever think of that? Hey, I've got that problem. I love when I get that. Is that enough? Maybe enough to think a little bit further. But you definitely have to do that beyond your family and friends. You guys, that's not enough. That is clearly not enough. And I think most of the time we do that, right? And they're going to tell you you're brilliant to begin with anyway. So test before you invest. And I think one of the easiest ways to do that, build a sell sheet together and get in front of some industries and say, hey, what do you guys think? Because those industry experts, they know other products that have been on the market. They know what they've seen before. They kind of know a little bit more than anybody you're ever going to talk to. That's why licensing, even before you try to venture it, I think is a brilliant idea. And if they
Mhm.
do like it, then maybe you go, all right, I can venture it, I can license it, or maybe I license part of it, but I manufacture some of it myself. There's all these different ways of carving it out. But I want to get a read before I start to spend some money. And I'll tell you, the last thing you want to do is spend so much time. I saw this, I did an interview with the gentleman that he had been selling his product for 20 years. And it was pretty simple, nothing complicated. And I noticed that his website was terrible. Ugh. His videos were not good. And I'm thinking to myself, this is awful marketing, awful. But he solves a pain that's so great that people buy it, regardless of
People
how
overlook the bad marketing because
the pain point.
the pain
Yeah.
point, yeah.
I was like, I don't get it until you think about it and go, oh, yeah, that's a problem. So, a good idea that solves a pain can overcome a lot of other mistakes, a lot of other mistakes. Next
Or
slide,
or
please.
or or going back to what we were talking about earlier, it could just be super cute. It elicits a emotional response if it was a little gift or novelty item or something like that. The equivalent of a pain, does it elicit a certain response? Um, you know.
Well, yeah, I think you got to remove the toy industry, maybe remove the novelty gift industry, of course, you guys. But those are really pretty teeny compared to kitchen or hardware or fitness or auto. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
But when
Uh,
we got a submission for a really cool toy. It's a lawn game. And instantly when everybody on the team saw it when we were reviewing applications every Thursday, they were like, "Whoa, yeah, that we just had an instantaneous response. That looks like fun." We were like, "That looks like so much fun."
okay.
And we were saying things like, "That looks kind of like a game we played when we were a kid, but it was different." So it could be the equivalent of a pain point in other industries, definitely.
Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, we'll get to some of these questions in a minute here. Good questions too. Um, I also think that before you start, you need to know the numbers. I just don't think when interviewing most of the people on our YouTube channel on Right TV, everyone says I just jumped in. It's like, what?
And
They
what do they
just,
jump into first, Stephen?
well, they've got this great idea and they don't know what to do, and they just start searching on the internet, and right away they file something because someone told them, you better protect that. They hear it by their friends or Shark Tank. And then the next thing they do, they might build a prototype, and before you know it, they want CAD drawings, and before you know it, they just go down this road, and they all do the same thing. They just go down this road of discovery, and they all tell me, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm hearing this common theme about everybody. Well, why not spend a moment and just start to do the math, right? Because the math is going to also help you determine if you should go forward with the idea or not, right? I mean, how big is the market? That's a good one. Can you estimate what the cost to manufacture to make sure it fits a certain category other products are selling for? As designers and inventors, we have a tendency to over design, right? Or if I've got a prototype that I really love, can that prototype actually be manufactured at scale? I cannot tell you how many people get a prototype made, but it cannot be manufactured in such a way that's going to hit a price point at scale.
Yeah,
That's a
and
problem.
I think the my bottom of the barrel easiest way of doing that is look at existing products and then go, how much is mine different than these? Well, that thing's 1995 and mine just has this little hinge on the side. That's the only thing that's different. So I know it can be made. But maybe you have a product that's really freaking weird and it's got all this stuff and it's like there's no comparable here and you're like, I don't know. And it's
Well,
okay to say I don't know, but a lot of times you can make
yeah.
really simple assumptions with no background in manufacturing. Because Stephen, you have these things listed and people are like, I don't know how to do any of this.
Well, I know they don't, but it's really easy. I mean, it's not complicated today because of ChatGPT.
Hmm.
I can even ask what similar ideas are, what they cost to manufacture, what the retail price point will tell me. I could find a manufacturing person in the United States on LinkedIn and say, hey, take a look at this. Can you give me a ballpark figure? I can get that now. I mean, that's not that hard. I could show someone Alibaba something that's not quite the exact same thing, but close to it because I don't want to disclose my idea. They'll give me a number. I mean, there's so many different ways of doing it today. Why wouldn't you do that? I mean, that's like, I want to know because that's going to tell you too if you can participate in this competitive world we're in. But without knowing that, I think you're at a disadvantage now a little bit. So, yes, you can go, yeah, if they can do this, they can do this. Okay, that's fair enough. But at the end of the day, taking a little bit more time is not a bad idea. There's other things that you don't realize when you're running a business. Do the math. I asked everybody on the InventRight interviews I've done this last year, what does it cost? And the simplest idea is people are spending $250,000.
Hmm.
And I don't think any of us are thinking that way. We're thinking, well, I'm just going to start and get a little bit of inventory from someone over in China, and I'll put it in my back bedroom and I'll get started. You know what that's called, you guys? That's called a hobby. That's what that's called. And can you do it that way? Absolutely, you can do it that way. But I've just seen so many stories that it just repeats. I started my back bedroom. I'm still selling it. The one thing that always comes out in every single one of these interviews when I ask them, what's keeping you up at night? I'm not selling enough product. And they think it's because of distribution or I need to get in retail. And I'm thinking, maybe not. Maybe there's some other things. Maybe the product is not that strong. Maybe your pain point is not strong enough. Yes, it does take some other things, but I like if you really put together, do I have the budget? And am I really willing to put my hat in the ring and go the distance? Because it's always takes people not twice as long, three times as long. Or you might look at, all right, I don't want to venture because I don't have that type of money and time. Okay, maybe licensing is a better approach because it's simpler, it's faster, I can gauge it, and I can file a PPA. I don't need to build inventory. I can get the companies, I can go to trade shows, I can do all that stuff. So maybe that's another way of looking at it going, I'm going to do that first, and then maybe I'll do the venturing second. But I do think know the numbers. And even if you're going to license it, I'll tell this story, and I cannot believe I'm telling this story, but I'm going to tell you we have a very successful member at InventRight, very successful. He's licensed 40 ideas, 40. And he said, Steve, I wish I was making more money. I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I'm licensing all this stuff. And I said, well, what category is it in? Well, it's the specialty toy industry. Specialty toy industry. Oh, so that doesn't mean mass market. That's not Target. That's not Walmart. So you'll never be in mass market. You're in novelty. You're in a very small segment of the industry. Well, that's one reason your numbers are never going to be that large
Hmm.
because it just doesn't have the distribution.
And what's kind of messed up about that is it's really not any harder to license to a really big company with huge distribution in 30,000 stores than it is a niche product to a very small company that's only going to sell 2,000 units a year, as opposed to the other company is going to sell 500,000. It's really not that much of a difference with regards to effort. So why wouldn't you go after those big fish and go after those big deals?
I, I think it's just having knowledge. So here's this person that's so successful, has been trained as a designer, so successful, but the one thing he didn't do was the numbers.
Hmm.
Because he didn't realize that these specialty toys, there's only so many retail outlets. There's not that many. And if you sell one a week, do the numbers. It's never going to be that volume he was looking for. He's still successful. He's still selling product, yes, but not the numbers he would want to have because he's not in the right
Well,
distribution point. Yeah.
he's going with his passion, Stephen, rather than the numbers. He chose passion over numbers, or
Well,
he just didn't even think about it.
that I'm glad you brought that up.
Passion can really mess you up.
Well, and I'm a big believer that believes in passion. Okay.
I am too, but it can mess you up too.
It does because what happens is your idea becomes a passion project, right? And if you look at it that way, and if you're happy with that, then you're fine. But if you want your business to be profitable because you want a certain lifestyle, or maybe you want to quit your job or whatever, you better look at it, does it solve the pain point people are willing to buy? Do I have enough resources to start a business and time? And can I test enough before I dive in? Because the numbers are against you. They're just stacked against you. And I look at that and going, do you have a rock you're pushing up a hill? Trust me, I pushed so many rocks up a hill. And now I see some of them that just roll down the hill. I go, oh, geez, a light went on. I was like, wait a minute, what's the difference here? I'll give you another example of testing too. I wanted to be in, I don't know why. An old childhood friend came to my office one day and said, hey, I got this great idea. And I said, what is it? Because he was a musician and he had a couple music stores. He goes, hey, let's do these really cute, uh, different guitar picks. I'm like, what? I go, why would we do that? He goes, well, there's a guy that's doing it and he's pretty successful and he's selling a lot of them. We should do it. So I said, okay, I'm a designer. So I came up with these designs that I thought were great. And we had them manufactured and we went to 5 retailers and not one retailer would take it. So I went back and thought, okay, what I thought kids would want, no. So I went down to Hot Topic and look what all the kids were buying, and they were skulls, and then I put 5 kind of these sheets of, pick your favorite guitar pick, and one of them was a skull and some other stuff from kids, and kids they filled it all out. It was a way to test it.
You were totally wrong about the designs they wanted.
I was wrong, but the
Uh,
market was telling me they're buying skulls, but there was no skull guitar picks, so we called it Grave Picker, put a survey in 5 stores, and every kid that filled it out, it was number one, number one, number one, number one was that skull. So the market told me what it wanted. And that was a very good lesson to me. It was like, okay, I thought I knew, but I really didn't know. I didn't know. So sometimes testing a little bit that we said before you invest is really, really smart because that we ended up selling millions. You guys, when we got that first Walmart order, think about it. Walmart order for our guitar picks, that was a $500,000. You know how many little guitar picks that is? Because guitar picks cost only 3 cents. They're retailing for $1.49. That's volume. So you really need to know what the market is telling you and create products that people want. So you need to test before you invest. And that had no pain at all. There's no pain point on that. People just thought they were cool. So yes, Andrew, sometimes just being cool is enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. All right. Um, yeah, this is another thing too. I don't think people are putting down all the costs, IP cost, the tooling, production, inventory, marketing. God, marketing, every complaint that everyone that came on InventRight TV, you guys, and I've done, Andrew, a lot of people that have launched products. They've been on Shark Tank. They're selling products. They all tell me the same thing. It took longer than they thought. It cost more money than they thought. And they all want more sales. But the one thing they're always terrible at is marketing because it takes a lot of time and energy. They just don't realize that you have to create demand. Even if I get my product on the store shelf, if I don't create demand, no one's going to buy it. I have to somehow educate my audience to go down and find it. And that's how I get distributors too. A lot of people don't realize distributors only distribute, they don't sell. You got to create demand, and you do that with a lot of marketing online. You can do it, but it takes a lot of time and effort. Those are the things I hear repeatedly from everyone. And you realize they just haven't done a lot of knowledge. They haven't done a lot of research. And guess what? Everything's on the internet now. I don't have to guess anymore. All this information's available. So it's all about what does it really cost in terms of time to to do this? And that's going to come down to now, like, all right, I don't have that time, I don't have the money, I don't have the effort, and I don't have the skills. Maybe I license it. We love that because that's our lane at InventRight. We love licensing. But the venturing side is exciting too. Don't get me wrong. But you can tell how many people have spent so much money, at least hundreds of thousands of dollars, and just realize I have a passion idea, passion project, and it's not enough. We have to stop that. Next slide. Yeah, you know what's really amazing about this? Really knowing who your customer is, knowing them well. Andrew said this at the very beginning. Climb inside your customer's head. Where does he hang out? Where does he go? What does he do? What does he think about this type of problem? Get to know him because you cannot market to someone you don't know. That should be any guessing again, right? So you really need to know who your ideal customer is and where do they
Yeah.
buy and how do you reach them? Here's the other thing. How do you find them? Is it on LinkedIn? Is it on TikTok? Is it on Amazon? Where are they going?
I think Amazon's a good one. So let's say it's a product to help you paint the inside of your house. People, that's something that the home user does. And you look at other products that help people paint the inside of their house. And you see what people are saying. You see the mindset, you see the complaints, you get the vibe. You look at the price range of the products. You hear what people are frustrated with. That's one way of getting to know your customer just by looking at product reviews on Amazon for other products in that space. It doesn't have to be your exact product even. Just get the vibe.
If you don't know who your ideal dream client is, you've got to stop. Who is the ideal dream client of yours? And where does he hang out? And how do I get to him? Those are really important questions to ask because if you don't know that, you could have the greatest product that solves the biggest pain too, and then have a hard time getting to him as well. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah, budget to survive. You know what it's called? It's called having a runway. And if you end up being shortchanging, yourself, or you haven't budgeted correctly, you're going to end up probably doing things that are going to be frustrating. You're going to be up at night. You're going to have, you're going to be frustrated, and you just might give up. Uh, I cannot tell you how many people I've seen, even on LinkedIn, that start down this journey and they don't realize it's a long runway, a lot longer than you, I mean, if you license their venture, it's a long runway. There's lots to do, and you have to be patient, and you got to pay the bills, and you have to live your life, but still keep on moving forward. And I think we kind of underestimate that, and I think we
All you need is a
underbudget.
good idea, Stephen. All you need is a good idea.
Well, I used to think that,
Uh, uh,
and uh, and that's why I guess I pushed a lot of rocks up a hill. Uh, and I think as I've gotten older, I don't want to push them up a hill. I want rocks that roll down the hill. That's what I'm looking for, you guys. And those type of ideas, I'll tell you, they're easy to manufacture. They have a large market. You have a point of difference. They're easy to describe. People have a big pain in that particular area. All those things are green flags. And once you start to see that, you realize, oh, if I have a product where it's so new, I've got to educate people, and I need a little screen up there, a TV, or have it on DRTV or whatever. That's going to be tough. But if I have an idea that people get instantly, I get it. I have that problem. I want that, and I can buy it, and the cost is right. All those things are a green flag, and those are the things you need to start looking for before you dive in. Yeah, yeah. The final filter. So to me, it really comes down to how real is that pain? And I don't think we're asking ourselves enough of that question. Do I have a product that really solves the pain that people are purchasing now? Yeah, is there proof of people spending money? There you go. That's competition. And really knowing your cost, especially if you're going to venture, you need to know your cost, because at the end of the day, you might be creating revenue, but you're not profitable. And I see that quite often. You're just spinning your wheels, is what you're doing. And do I have a clear path to the market? Do I really know where my buyer's hanging out? Who is he? Where is he hanging out? And can I get to him? And what is that going to cost to even get to him? Right? Because it does cost to get new clients and new customers. Yeah.
well,
And,
that's the nice thing about licensing. Their customers are already there. You're
yeah.
tapping into their
Yeah.
customers, their distribution, their employees, their money, all that. And so, um, but the product needs to make sense, and it
Yeah.
needs to have a pain or a benefit, or it brings a smile to their face, or what have you. If it's within their product line, within those distribution channels, you know.
So the bottom line is, I think you need to kind of slow it down, ask yourself some really good questions, do some homework, of course, but stop getting so attached to what you're doing that you're not thinking clearly, and go, all right, let me step back for a minute. Yes, I can file a PPA pretty quickly if I'm worried about being first, do that, of course. That's easy to do. But some of the other stuff, I think you need to sit back and go, all right, does it have a big enough pain point? There you go.
Mm. Cool. Well, we got some time to do some Q&A here, so
Yeah.
I'll pull, if you guys ever want to, you can email us there, Stephen Key at InventRight or Andrew Krauss at InventRight. So let's come back here. And so if you want to start picking some questions in there, Stephen, you're welcome to. I can do some that are
Go.
online. Let's see what we got going here. Um, Michelle said licensing lets you test numerous ideas rather than fund one big project you venture that may or may not make it. And then Brandon commented, yeah, passive income is also very appealing. Set it and forget it. Uh, wh- once you do license to a company, you can kind of set it, forget it, but you always want to come up with new versions, right, Stephen?
Yeah, I
Keep
think
the company
I
on the top.
yeah, I don't think I would just forget about it and go to the mailbox and hope for checks. I think the strategy today is to help your licensee sell more product, I think, and you can do that. And they want you to do that, and you can do that. So I just I would guarantee they're going to be successful by helping them. I would.
I don't know if Brian's new. Brian wrote, people are going to love my IP. The pain point is definitely there. So they're not loving your IP, Brian. They're not loving your product. They're loving the benefit of your product, the pain that it solves, you know. But don't mean to correct you there, but nobody, right, he wrote yes. Yeah. Okay. I think he already knows that. Um, uh, William wrote, the product shouldn't be a solution in search of a problem. And then Cynthia wrote, Amen. And we've
I,
seen those. We've seen those. Yeah.
I think that's more common than not.
It's very common. Yeah.
I do, and hey, trust me, I've done it too. Okay, something really cool, and I'm trying to find a place for the darn thing. I've done it. I've seen it. I've made every mistake you can possibly make. All right, so yeah, I think that's very common.
It's funny. Let's see what else we got here. Cynthia wrote, customer persona is the term for the ideal customer. Customer persona. That's
Okay,
interesting.
thank
Okay.
you.
Um, uh, Garen wrote, the number of products produced affects the cost of production. Yes, it does. When you license, part of my language, I like to joke about it. When you license to a big ass company, they can get that cost down because the volume's really huge. So probably you shouldn't use the
Well,
word ass.
you know what's
I
really
just said ass
interesting.
3 times now. God, I'm terrible.
Well, what's interesting about that, I think that's absolutely true. And I interviewed this one gentleman that had a great little product, and he was pretty happy selling it, but it required education. He told me he has to demo it. You have to demo it? He goes, well, yeah, because I do it. It's opening a bottle cap too. I mean, come on. I mean, but he has to do a demo because he does it differently. And I said, well, how do you scale that? Well, I'm just going to keep on going to, you know, doing demos. I was like, you'll never scale it. And then he said, I go, do you have any other design that does the same thing? He goes, well, yeah, I've got another design. It works beautifully and it's very intuitive, so you don't need to do a demo. I'm thinking, well, why don't you work on that? Or better yet, do what you're doing, but license the other one. Because his
Right.
problem was, he said, let me tell you what he thought his problem was, the price. I go, why is that? He goes, well, I cannot order enough to get the price down low. So I think he's going to be running in circles if he's not careful, if he isn't already. Yeah.
This next one is from the live stream on YouTube, and so we definitely got to get this person's question. They just have a handle, Jaraha number one, and they said, "Hello, I'm from Ireland, working late here, burning the oil. Thanks for these, Stephen." And so it must be like 2 a.m. for you. So the question is, at what stage does a good novel product surpass the licensing potential and move to venturing field per se? I don't think that's really the way it works. At what point does a good product surpass the licensing? I think the way you go to the moon is to license it because that big company that has 500 products and has distribution in 30,000 stores can help it to go to the moon. I don't think it surpasses licensing for you to then venture it because you don't have the funds, you don't have the team, you don't
Well,
have the distribution. I don't know if
well,
that's really his question. I had to figure out, I had to make
well, Andrew,
infer what his question is.
I look at it this way, and I don't think we're really looking at it this way either. The profit margin, I would say from a company might typically be 15%, maybe higher, but let's say 15%. That's their profit margin. And you come along and get 5%, you're getting a third. Think about it. They're doing all the risk, they're selling it, they're doing all that stuff, and you're getting a third of what they're getting? That's not a bad deal, guys. That's a pretty good deal. And Andrew's right. And because of their size and distribution, it's going to be way more than that if you made it yourself.
Unless you want to start a little micro business and it's super niche, you're going to sell 4,000 units a year and you're okay with selling it yourself and nobody will knock it off because it's too nichey and you always wanted to run your little micro business. In that case, you don't
Hmm.
want to do licensing because licensing, it's not going to add up, for 4,000 units a
Well,
year, right?
but also too, you have to realize if you've got an idea that's easy to manufacture, you know your customer, and you're pretty good at Amazon, and you want to make all the decisions, yes, and you've got a budget, man, yes, venturing is going to be your ticket, man. There's no doubt about it.
Well, this
Yeah.
next one's another on the live stream. The handle's too long to read, but this is a common thought process. I want you to comment on this one, Stephen. Um, Even if heaven and hell and all of earth is against you, you gotta say, F them. I'll make it myself, and I am the investment. Now, I think that I, there's something to like screw them all. I'm gonna do this, but if that's all you got, and you don't got the game, you don't got the team, you don't got the money, you don't got the marketing skills, you are in big trouble. And Stephen and I, over the last 26 years, have seen countless inventors that have that attitude and people that have literally gotten in divorces
Now,
over it,
now you have to,
So
you guys have to realize too, if you feel that strong about it, do it.
yeah, but
And
you gotta have the skills, you gotta have the team, you gotta have the
well,
money.
but
You can't,
sometimes making mis you learn more from your failures than you do from your success. And I
sure,
would never want you to stop learning. So if you want to do it, go ahead and you will learn so much.
yeah.
And maybe the next one that you do will come out a little bit better, and the next one will be even better. So I don't think there's just one way to do something. I'm all about just do something, right? And learn about all the different ways to do it because today it's fascinating that you can market yourself, that you can get out there. In fact, we just saw uh, I think a product at InventRight recently where the woman had like millions of followers on TikTok, and she's selling the heck out of this product. Uh, and we showed it to companies, and every company wanted it. Everyone wanted it. So she did a nice test, and now it's scale. How do you scale? When you have something that's that popular, now it's just scale. How do you scale as fast as you can? Because you're going to have competition coming in. That's my opinion. And the one thing I do like, whatever you do, venture licensing, if you have a good idea that's selling, you will have competition. So you not only do you have to do everything else, you have to plan of how to stay ahead. And you can with good IP and some other strategies, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I think the other worry that most people tell me on the InventRight interview series I'm doing, I'm fighting the knockoffs. And so I'm just seeing a common theme, you guys, and that's why I did this webinar here. I'm just seeing a common theme, and I think we can break that pattern a little bit here by thinking a little bit differently.
And a big company is quite often better equipped to fight the knockoffs than you
Oh,
are. A huge company sends a cease and desist, which doesn't cost them much with their attorney, and the little guy's like, "Oh crap!" Like this big
are
old
they?
company, but you send the cease and desist, and you're a smaller company. They're like, "I don't care," So that there's some validity to that. So having a big partner on
They
your
carry a big
team that's going to
stick.
scare, yeah, you're carrying a big stick, yeah, basically. Now this I think goes in this I think this person, the person that was talking about the heaven and hell, also typed something into the live YouTube stream, which I think they're wrong, and I think they need to hear this. So he or she, I don't know if it's he or she, My math was awesome back in the day. Vehicle hard drive, I think they're talking about vehicle hard drives in the billions of vehicles across the globe. This was back in 2005. 2 years later, Apple CarPlay was introduced. Robbed. I don't think he was robbed, Stephen. I think the question is he had an idea about a hard drive or audio in a car, and now he's saying that now the fact that there's Apple CarPlay, that they stole his idea. Well, the question is when you come up with an idea, what was the product exactly then back in the day? How are you going to introduce it? You're not going to reach out to giant car companies to tell them they should do something. It probably wasn't even a
Well,
licensable product, to be
the,
honest,
the
back
only
in the
thing I
day.
have to say to that is if you have a good idea, someone else will have the same idea.
Correct. And not saying the idea was bad. I'm just saying, like,
Mm.
what was your product
And
exactly back in the
it,
day? And was it
it,
licensable?
yeah,
You know,
there might be multiple people at the same time. And just know that because the universe, the way I think creativity works, people that open their mind and solving problems, the universe gives them solutions. And if enough people are out there playing the same game, you're going to see the same ideas. That happens all the time. You just have to be first and be ready and be knowledgeable and be ready to know what you're doing. To me, it's all about execution too. Yeah.
this was nice. David wrote in. My first thought when I discovered a great idea was to get it patented, then get it out there to benefit others sharing the same problem. Had no idea literally how to do that until I found out about InventRight. Now I have the direction
Sure.
and know what I need to do and know I have the support when I need it. Thanks. So you're welcome, David. I think that's great. There's
Yeah.
still a ton of people that, Stephen, I know we've been doing licensing for 26 years. There's still a ton of people that don't know what the word licensing even means. And they think I can only get a patent
Yeah.
and start a business. It's really messed
Yeah, and
up.
that's what's being taught. But a lot of people don't know that the patent system was really created for product licensing. In fact, the third patent was licensed. George Washington licensed the third patent, and you can see that in Mount Vernon because they knew that the farmers were coming up with all the innovations because farmers are brilliant and everything breaks. So they're always come up with really cool stuff. Farmers weren't going to leave the farms. So the patent system was created so they could stay on the farms but license the technology to others. I didn't know that. But when I
I
heard it, it made perfect sense.
Yeah, that was a cool story. I'd never read that before.
Gene
You'd shared
Quinn,
that.
Gene Quinn told me that story. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
He's the patent guy.
he's the patent.
I'm gonna answer this one. This is from Matthew. Um, Improvements on existing products is a great discussion topic. Can you discuss the details and how we handle that differently? Like how we need to deal with the company that produces the products we're improving. So this is what the reality is here, guys. Most products aren't patented. So if you saw like you saw a certain type of kitchen cutting board and there was eight of them and you're just like made an improvement and there's eight companies selling that type of kitchen cutting board and you had this little additional improvement, if there's eight companies selling a product, that ain't patented. Now, there might be one of them that has a patent on one little feature of it, but that's not patented. You're going to patent your piece that protects it. So this is a messed up thought when people are new to the process, Stephen. They think like everything is patented. Well, I can't do a product like theirs. Yeah, you can. If they didn't patent it, especially when you see there's eight other companies that are making that product, you can do it and you can protect your improvement. So also sometimes people go, well, oh, that product is patented. Well, they patented one little piece of it, and the nine other features it has aren't patented, so you can do the product without that little piece. So hopefully that was helpful, Matthew. I think we're coming up on the hour here.
Yeah,
Um,
I want to thank everybody for attending. This was kind of a new topic. I hadn't really talked about it before. Thank you for attending. We've got a great lineup this year. I'm really excited about all the topics. We're going to branch out in some different areas. So please follow us. And if you know anybody that needs more information, tell them who we are. Come on over, join the crowd.
cool,
All right. And get out there, get off the couch, work hard, educate yourself, get those ideas out there, knock on doors, do everything you need to make your dreams come true.
cool.
All right.
Take care, everybody. Keep inventing. Thank you,
Bye,
Stephen.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Great questions tonight.